Hello and welcome back to Get Great at Maths. I'm here to help you pass your maths exam, so hit that like and subscribe button. We're going to look at keywords, key formulas and how to gain top marks. So let's get ready to get great at maths. This is a question using place value. You are given 4 cards. The values on the cards are 4, 8, 2 and 7. And you're told that you're going to use 3 of these cards, so it could be any 3 of these cards, to make a 3-digit number. Each card can only be used once, and you're told that the 4 is put in the tens column. You've got to write down the lowest 3-digit number that you can make, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So you need to write your answer in these 3 boxes here. You need to think about your key facts. So you need to know that the word digit means a number. So these numbers here are all digits. So don't be put off by this word digit. It just means a number. We've got thousands, hundreds, tens and ones. So these are our place value. Now we've only got a 3-digit number. So we've got the ones, tens and hundreds column. We only need to deal with these first 3 values here. Now you're told that you've got 4 tens. So the tens column is this middle one here. So that means in the middle, you're going to be placing this 4 tens. Then you're going to work out what values you need to put in which order to get the lowest. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer. Press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic. So hopefully you should have spotted that the 4 tens goes in the 10 column, which is in the middle. Now you've got to make the lowest, which means the smallest value. So the smallest number up here is the number 2. So the 2 goes at the front. We've used the 2, we've used the 4, I've got an 8 and a 7 left. So 8 is bigger than 7, so I'm going to ignore the 8 and I'm going to use the 7 and I'm going to put that as the last digit. Give yourself a big tick if you wrote 247. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows there's 1 M, 1 method mark for getting the correct answer 247. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on writing words to numbers. So you've been given a number in terms of words that you can see here, and you've got to tick which one of these is correct. And it says there is only 1 correct. This will give you 1 mark in the exam. You need to remember the place value. You've got your tens of thousands, you've got your thousands, hundreds, tens and ones. So you've got to read this number here and then tick which one it is. Press pause, have a go at reading this number, working out which one it is, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic. So I purposely didn't read the number to you initially so you had a chance to read it yourself so you understand what you're actually reading. So this says 80,306. So 80. So if you think about thousands, this is my thousands column over here, and I don't have just 1,000, I've got 80 of them. So the 8 has got to go in this column here. So I've got an 8 here and a 0 afterwards. So 80 are the first 2 digits. It's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because this is the 80,000 here. So it's got to have 5 digits. If you look at these numbers down here, the first one has got 4. We've got a 5 here. We've got a 5 here. We've got 6 here and we've got 3, 6, 7, 8 here. So it can only be one of these 2 numbers here. We've now got 300 next. So the hundreds column is here, so there has to be a 3 in here. So I've got 8, 0, then it's got to go 3 for the 300s. And then it's got a 6 on the end, which has got to be in the ones column because it's just a 6 on its own. So you can see all of these have got a 6 on the end, but it's where this 300 goes. So you said it was one of these 2 here. We said the 3 has got to go in the hundreds column, which is this column here. This one here doesn't have a 3 in this column, so the answer should be this one, and this is the one that you should pick. Give yourself a big tick if you got that one correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 80,306, so it's the middle one. Have a practice at reading out the other numbers as well, because it is good practice to see what the other numbers are. Do you know what these numbers are? So you've got 8,306, 80,036, 800,306, 80,300,006. So you should know what all these numbers are, as well as the one that you've been asked for. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on reflection. You're told that the triangle ABC that you can see in the diagram, ABC, is drawn on this grid. And you can see you've got your x-axis and you've got your y-axis. Remember, your x-axis is always horizontal and your y-axis is always vertical. You're told that she reflects the triangle in the y-axis. So you can see here's the y, here is my y-axis. You've got to draw the reflected triangle on the grid. So you've got to work out what is the triangle going to look like after it's been reflected in the y-axis. Tells you to use a ruler, so make sure you use a ruler to make your work nice and neat. This is worth 1 mark in the exam. So your key facts. You need to know what this word reflect means. So the word reflect means, what would you see if a mirror was placed on the line given? And the line given is the y-axis. So here is where it says y. So this is the axis for the y. So when this shape is reflected in this line here, what will it look like? So if there was a mirror put along here, what would you see? You need to draw what you would see. So press pause while you draw out the grid and then see if you can work out what the shape would look like on the gap you've got over here. Great work. Hopefully you've managed to have a look at drawing this reflection. So we're going to start off with the point A. Now we know we're reflecting in this line here, which is my y-axis. Now A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares from the y-axis. So I need to count the opposite side 5 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I put a cross where this point here is. Point B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares away from the y-axis again, so you can see my y-axis here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 the opposite way. Here's my new point. C is only 1, 2 away from the y-axis here, so I'm going to go 1, 2 this side, and I draw my third cross. You can see a triangle has been formed on the right hand side. This is the reflection of the triangle ABC, and it has been reflected in the y-axis. Give yourself a big tick if you got it correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows there is one M, which is one method mark. You can see the correct triangle drawn out over here on the right hand side. It says ignore any attempt to label reflected triangle. It doesn't matter how you label it. Accept slight inaccuracies in drawing provided the intention is clear. So if you are slightly wobbly with your line or you're not quite exact on the points, you are allowed a little bit of leeway there. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on place value. We need to write down the next 2 numbers in the sequence. So that's the key fact of keywords of what we need to do in this question. So you've got the sequence 1,780, 1,880, 1,980. You've got a gap and another gap, and you need to write your answer in these 2 gaps, and that will give you 1 mark for getting both answers correct. Your key facts are that you need to look at what this sequence is. Now the word sequence in the question basically means it's a pattern, and it's a pattern in numbers. So what happens from one number to the next number, what is the pattern, and keep doing the same pattern, work out what the next numbers will be. You need to find the difference between the numbers, and that will help us know what the pattern is. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Great work. So hopefully you've managed to get 2 answers here. So we need to look at what the pattern is doing. So we're going from 1,780 to 1,880. So the only number that is changing is this 7 has changed to an 8, and then the 8 changes to a 9. So it's the hundreds column that is changing, and it's only changed by one number each time, which means we are adding on 100. Next, we're also going to add on another 100. Now this is where it becomes slightly trickier. So we've got 1,980 adding on 100. Now 1,000, let's just look at the 900. 900 plus 100. We know 9 plus 1 is 10, so we've got 1000. Now 1000 is the same as 1000. So we're going to take this 1000 plus the other 1000 to make it 2000, and the 80 will stay the same on the end. If you need to write it out in column notation with 1980 with the 100 underneath, put your column on, put your plus on the side and add up the zeros. 8 plus 0 is 0, 9 plus 1 is 10, carry it over, 1 plus 1 is 2, gives you 2080. We're now going to do the same again and add on another 100. From here I've got a 0 in the hundreds column, so I'm now going to add 100 to it, which will take it to 2180. Give yourself a big tick if you got those correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows you had to get the answer 2080, 2180. It doesn't matter if you put the comma in or not, you will still get the answer correct, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam, so 1M means 1 mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on rounding. The key words in the question are you're told that you've got to circle 2 decimals, and you can see you've got a lot of decimals here, that round to the same whole number. This will give you 1 mark in the exam. So our key facts, you need to know what the word round means. So we're going to round to a whole number, which means like 10, 11, 15, anything that is a whole number, like 6. So there's no decimals afterwards. And when we're rounding, if you've got the number 5 after the decimal point, so we're looking at this number here after the decimal point, if it is 5 or more, you're going to round up. Remember, we say 5 or 9, climb the vine. Or if it is 4 or below, we need to keep it the same. So this number here is greater than 5, so this one will round up. This one here is 4 or lower, so it will keep it the same. And remember, we say 0 to 4, slide to the floor. Let's pause, have a go at rounding these numbers and work out which 2 will round to exactly the same number. Fantastic work. We're just going to start off with 13.2. Now 13.2 is between 13 and 14. And 13.2 is going to be closer to the 13 side than it is to the 14 side. If we look here, 13.2 would be approximately here. So when we come to round this, we can see that the 13.2 is closer to 13 than it is to 14. So we round it, the answer is going to be 13. Now to help us decide whether it's going to be 13 or 14, we need to look at this fact here. 0 to 4. 2 is between 0 and 4. So we have to slide to the floor, which means keep the number the same. So this number here just disappears and we're left with the number 13. So this 3 doesn't change, it just stays as 1, 3. So it'll round to the number 13 because that's the one it's closest to. Using a similar principle, we can do the same for 14.7. Now the 7 here is higher than 5. So that means that's going to make this next number, the 4, go up by 1. So it's going to make it the number 15. 15.9, again 9 is greater than 5. So that's going to make this 5 round up 1 to 16. 16.3, the 3 is 4 or lower. So that is going to stay the same. So we ignore the 3 on the end and the 16 will just stay exactly the same. 17.6, 6 is greater than 5. So when we round this, it'll make the 7 become an 8. So it's going to become 18. Now you need to look at these numbers here and think which ones are the same. So which ones of these are the same? It's the 2 16s are the same. So the 2 numbers you need to circle are the 15.9 and the 16.3. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 15.9 and 16.3 for 1M, which means 1 method mark. It does say on the right hand side, accept alternative or unambiguous positive indication of the correct answer. So if you forgot to circle it, or you put a tick by it, or you did something different, you put them in a box, then you would still get the answer correct. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on place value. Now the key words of the question are to write down the missing value to make the calculation correct. So basically you've got to work out what is the missing number that goes in this box, and it will give you 1 mark in the exam. You need to be able to read the number and work out what the missing value is. So your key facts. You need to know your place value. So you need to know your millions, your hundreds of thousands, your tens of thousands, your thousands, your hundreds, your tens, and your ones column. So that could be written out in a long list like this. So this will help you work out what the missing gap is in here, looking at your place value to work out what the missing value is. Pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear your answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to work out what this number is. So looking at the number, you should be able to read this number as being 1,300,450. So you can see here, this first number here is 1 million. We've got a gap, then we've got our 400, and we've got our 50. So the gap refers to this 3. Now this 3 value here is in the number after the millions column. So here's my millions. After the millions, I've got 100,000. So this is 300,000. So basically you need to write a 3, and any numbers after the 3 need to be 0. So we have 3 with 2 zeros here before the comma, and then another 1, 2, 3 zeros afterwards to make 300,000. If you got that correct, give yourself a big tick. It doesn't matter whether you put a comma in or not. You can write it with or without a comma to get the mark in the exam. The mark scheme shows the answer is 300,000 for 1M, which means 1 method mark. If you put the comma in, fantastic. If you didn't write the comma, it's okay because it's still the same number. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on counting to find out a missing value. Now you're told in the question that you have got a number square. So you can see here you've got some numbers and it should form a complete square, but this corner is missing. So it tells you the next bit of information that part of the square has been torn off, so we don't know what is missing. You've got to work out what number was in the bottom left-hand corner of the number square. So what number is over here? You need to write your answer in the box, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. Now some of you will be able to look at this and think, oh, I know what the answer is straight away, really easily. Other people will think, oh, I've no clue what's going on. I'm really unsure as how this works. So to help you, you need to know your key facts. You need to look for patterns in the numbers. What is going on between the numbers? Can you spot any patterns? Then if you add in missing boxes and values, it will help you identify what is going on with the pattern. And then you need to find this value in the bottom left-hand corner here to get your mark. Just pause, see if you can work out what the pattern is, and then press play when you've got yourself an answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer what is down here. So we're going to start with the pattern. We start off with a half. We add a half. That gives me 1. Add another half gives me 1.5. Add another half is 2. Add another half is 2.5. So each time this pattern is going up by a half. So when we get to the end of the top line, 2.5 plus a half is 3. 3 plus a half is 3.5. Then we've got 4. Add another half is 4.5. Add another half takes me to 5. So the next gap here, okay, imagine the box was there. After 5, it will be 5.5. Then it goes to 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5. Now you can see if you look at the pattern, the numbers, the whole numbers go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they carry on. In between, you've got the ones with the halves. So look at the patterns to see what is going on. Each value gets one higher than the one before. So we've got 5.5 here. Add on a half takes me to 6. Add on another half takes me to 6.5. Add on another half takes me to 7. Add on another half is 7.5. We can now work out what would be here on the end. So adding on a half to 7.5 will be 8. Adding on a half to that will give me 8.5 in this next box. Then it goes 9. Add on another half is 9.5. Add on another half takes me to 10. Now the box we need to find is this box here. So after 10, the missing value is going to be 10.5. Now you didn't actually need to write these extra ones in here. You could have looked at the pattern within here and spotted, oh, it's going to be half extra to this number here. So you could have gone straight to that if you spotted it straight away. Make sure you put your answer in the box here, and that will give you 1 mark in the exam. If you got it correct, give yourself a big tick, well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 10.5 for 1m, which means 1 method mark. It says that you can also write down decimal equivalents as 10.5 or 10.50. They will also be correct. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on shape names. The keywords in the question are to match each shape that you can see here on the left-hand side with the correct name that you can see on the right-hand side, and this will give you 1 mark. You'll need to use your pencil and ruler and draw a line between the shape and the word to match them up. Now your key facts are that you need to know what these words mean. So you've got an irregular. So 2 of these words have got irregular at the beginning, 2 have got regular. So the word irregular means that all the sides and all the angles are different. So you've got a shape where all the sides are different lengths. A regular shape, all the sides and the angles are the same. So for example, with the 4-sided shape, a 4-sided shape that is regular is the square because all 4 sides are exactly the same and all 4 angles are the same. But an irregular shape in a 4-sided shape is a rectangle because 2 of them are the same length and the other 2 are the same, but they're not all exactly the same, so that is irregular. Now you need to know what all the different shapes are called for the different number of sides. So you need to know a 3-sided shape is a triangle, a 4-sided shape is a quadrilateral, e.g. a square or a rectangle or rhombus or parallelogram. There are multiple quadrilaterals. 5-sided shape is a pentagon. Now you can think of the penthouse in America. That has got 5 sides, which is why a 5-sided building is called a pentagon. 6 sides is a hexagon. Now, a lot of students find it difficult to remember which is pentagon and which is hexagon. Hexagon has got an X in it. The word 6, if you write it out, S-I-X, has also got an X in it, so 6 and hexagon go together, which will then help you identify that the 5 is the pentagon. 7 is a heptagon. Now you think of athletics, the heptathlon has got 7 events in that, so the heptathlon and the heptagon go together with 7. The octopus has got 8 arms, so 8 sides is an octagon, 9 sides is a nonagon, and 10 sides is a decagon. So the ones people find the most difficult are these 3 here in the middle, 5, 6 and 7 generally are what people find the most tricky. So looking at these shapes here, you've got to decide which one matches up to these words here. Press pause and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. Hopefully you've managed to match them up. So we're going to start by counting the number of sides. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. So this has got a 6-sided shape. So if I look over here, 6-sided shape is called a hexagon. So this is a pentagon, this is a hexagon, hexagon, pentagon. So it's one of these 2. So we've got to decide whether it is regular or it's irregular. So if you look at the length of the sides, you can see that they are all the same length. So because they are all the same length, that means we have got a regular hexagon. So using your pencil and ruler, you need to draw a line between the 2. This shape here has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shapes, 5 sides. So a 5-sided shape is called a pentagon. So the top one and the bottom one are pentagons. One is irregular, one is regular. These sides here are all different lengths. So because they're different lengths, it is an irregular pentagon. This shape here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 sides. And these ones are all the same length. So this is the regular pentagon. And the last one down here has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. And these are all different lengths. So this is the irregular hexagon. You need to get all of these correct to get the 1 mark in the exam. Give yourself a tick if you got this correct. Well done. Here is the mark scheme for this question. You can see the diagram is labelled out nice and clearly with the lines that you needed to connect. This was worth 1M, which means 1 method mark in the exam. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a number problem. You're told that Jack says he multiplied a whole number by 3 and the answer was 32. Now, the key words in the question are to explain why Jack is not correct. So what he's written in this bubble here, or what he said, is not right. And you've got to work out why it is not right. This will give you 1 mark. You must write your answer in this bubble here as to why he is not correct. So your key facts. You need to know that the word explain means you've got to use words. So in the question here it says explain. So that means you need to write down some words to explain what is going on in your answer. So to give the answer, to give reason to the answer, you need to use this word explain. A whole number is a number, for example, 5. So any number which hasn't got a decimal or a fraction with it is a whole number. When you multiply, so you multiply the answer by the number by 3, multiply means times. And you need to know the opposite to multiply is divide. Now, to show that a number can be divided by 3, if you add together the digits of a number, and if they can be divided by 3, it can be divided by 3. So, for example, if you had the number 15, for example, 1 plus 5 are the 2 digits of the number 15. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 can be divided by 3, so 15 is divisible by 3. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So we're going to look at this number here. The answer is 32. So 3 times something has got to give us 32. So you should know that if you do 3 times something, the answer is 32. We've got to do the opposite, which is divide. So you can do 32 divided by 3. Now you can use the bus stop method here to show this, or we can use this trick down here for dividing the digits. So if you use the bus stop method, you will find that this doesn't go in exactly. You will end up with a remainder. But if we add the digits together, we've got the number 32. 3 plus 2 is 5. Now 5 is not a multiple of 3, or it's not in the 3 times table, which means that 32 is not divisible by 3. You can think about your 3 times table. 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 11 is 33. And we've got the number 32, so it doesn't go in exactly. So any of these reasons will give you a valid mark in the exam. It doesn't matter which one you use. If you got this correct, give yourself a big tick. Well done. Here is the mark scheme. Now you can see there are numerous reasons given why 32 divided by 3 is not in the 3 times table. So you've got lots of different options. You could say that 32 is just not in the 3 times table. You could say 32 divided by 3 is 10 remainder 2, or 10.6 recurring. If you count on in multiples of 3 from 0, you will never reach 32. This is the one I used. 3 plus 2 was 5, and 5 is not a multiple of 3, so he is wrong. Or you could have said that 10 times 3 is 30, and 11 times 3 is 33, so there's no 32, which is in the middle. Any of those will give you 1 mark or 1M in your exam. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a square number problem. The key words of the question that you've got to write down the missing square number to make the addition correct. So you've got 8 squared plus something squared is equal to 73, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. You've got to work out what the missing number is here and write your answer on the line. So to help you, we'll give you some key facts. Your first key fact that you need to know what a square number is. So a square number means a number multiplied by itself. For example, 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25, so the square number is 25. Here I've got another example. 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16, and we can draw that out diagrammatically. Means 1, 2, 3, 4 across, 1, 2, 3, 4 squares down. So in total I've got 4, 8, 12, 16 squares, or 4 times 4, which is 16. So that's how many squares I've got in this diagram. Now the opposite to add is subtract, and the opposite to squaring is the square root. So if we know that 4 squared is equal to 16, that means the square root of 16 goes back to where you started, to 4. So the square root of 16, so here's my square and I root it, I get the answer here, which is 4. How many down the side? Press pause, have a go at working out what is in the gap, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've started off by working out the value of 8 squared. Now you've got quite a lot of steps to do in this question for just 1 mark. So 8 squared means 8 times 8. So you should remember the little saying, I ate and ate till I was sick on the floor. 8 times 8 is 64, hopefully you've all said. So 64 is 8 squared plus something squared is equal to 73. So you've got the number 64 and you're adding on something and the answer has got to be 73, or something squared is 73. So if you think about your number line, you've got 0 at one end and you've got 64, which is where I'm starting at, and I've got to add on something. So I'm going to start 64, I've got to add on something, and the answer has got to be 73. So we need to work out what this gap is between the 64 and the 73. So you can count on from 64 and you can count on your fingers until you get to 73, or you can think, actually, to get from 64 to 73, if I did 73 take away 64, that will tell me what this gap here is. So we're going to take 64 from both sides, which is the equivalent of what we're doing here to get rid of this 64 on the left. But if I do 73 and take away 64, I can't do 3 take away 4, so I have to borrow from the 7, cross it out and make it a 6, and I'm going to put a 10 in the front. 13 take away 4 is 9, and 6 take away 6 is 0. So that means that I have got something squared is going to equal 9. So this gap here between 64 and 73 is a gap of 9. So that means that 9 is equal to something squared. So we've got to work out what this gap here is. So remember we said the opposite to squaring is the square root. So something times by itself has got to equal 9. So you've got to think through your numbers. Something times by itself is 9. If you're unsure, just start at the beginning. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. And that's what we're looking for. So the square root of 9, which is what we're trying to do, is going to be 3. So that is the answer that needs to go on the line. So if you work out 8 squared, which is 64, plus 3 squared, which is 9, 64 plus 9 gives you 73. Give yourself a big tick if you got the answer 3. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 3 for 1m, which means 1 method mark. Now it does say in the additional guidance that if you wrote the answer of 9, and as long as you crossed out the exponent, which is the squared part of it, they will accept the answer of 9. So if you'd written 8 squared plus, get rid of the squared bit and just written the number 9 equals 73, that was allowed and that would have given you a mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a number problem. In this question, the key words are that you're told that at the start of April, you have got 15,000 games. Shop sells, or shop sold, 7,918 games in April. 4,624 games in May, and you've got to work out how many games the shop had left at the end of May. Now on the left hand side it says you must show your method, which means you must show your working. What calculations do you have to do in order to get the answer? Now if you get the answer right, you get the full 2 marks, but if you make a mistake and you haven't shown your working, you will get 0. So it's always worth showing your working so you can get some method marks. Now in the exam there's a total of 2 marks available for this question here. So make sure you show your working in the gaps here and then write down your final answer in the box. So your key facts. You need to know that the word sold means that that is the number of games that were bought by people in the public. So how many games were actually bought by people? That's what this word sold here means. And left means the number of games in the shop at the end. So when we're looking at the calculation, you've got a shop, it had 15,000 games in total. 7,918 games were sold, so they were taken out of the shop, and 4,624 games were sold in May. Again, they were taken out from the shop, and you've got to work out how many are left. So what is now left in the shop at the end of May? So your total, okay, you're going to have to add when you use the word total, and when the word left, you will need to do subtract. So these are 2 key words that you'll be needing to know, that if you're working out a total, you're adding, and if you're working out how many are left, you've got to do a subtraction. Press pause, have a go at thinking about the answer and working out your answer without a calculator, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've realised that you've got to add together the amount of games sold in April and May to work out the total number of games sold. So that is for 7,918 plus 4,624. So we start at the right hand side when we add. So we've got to do 8 plus 4, which is 12. So we carry a little 1 up here and the 2 goes here. Some people do like to carry the 1s underneath. It doesn't matter whether you carry the 1 above or below, you will still get the same answer. 1 plus 2 is 3 plus the other 1 gives you a 4. 9 plus 6 is 15, so you can think of that as 9 plus 1 gives you 10, and then you've got 5 left, so 10 plus 5 is 15. So we carry the 1 and the 5 comes down here. And then I've got 4 plus 7 plus 1. Now you should know that 4 plus 3 is 10. There's 1 left over, so that takes you to 11, plus the extra 1 gives you 12. So we've got 12,542. So that's how many games were sold in total. We know initially there were 15,000 games. So we've got to take away this 12,542 from 15,000, and that will give us the answer which we need to write in the box here. Again, we start on the right hand side, so we do 0 take away 2. We can't do it, so we have to borrow from the next number up the top here. Again, this is a 0, so we can't borrow. So we move to the next one. Again, another 0, so we can't borrow. So we have to come to this 5. We can cross the 5 out and make it a 4, and we can borrow a 10 now. So I can now cross out my 10, make it a 9, and borrow a 1. I'm going to cross out my 10, make it a 9, and borrow a 1 again. So now I've got the number 10 take away 2, which is 8. 9 take away 4 is 5. 9 take away 5 is 4. 4 take away 2 is 2. And 1 take away 1 is 0. So your answer is 2,458. That needs to be written in the gap here. You would get 1 mark for showing your working for doing both of these steps and having an error in there, but to get the full marks you need to write down the answer 2,458. Remember, you can put a comma in there if you want to, but make sure that comma's not too big so it doesn't look like the number 1. So it is nice and small. Give yourself a big tick if you got it correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question says you get 2 marks for getting the answer 2,458. The up to 2m means up to 2 method marks. So you would get 1 mark for doing the correct sum with an error. So the error bit means you made a mistake somewhere in your calculation. As long as you try to use the correct method and you've just made a calculation error, you will still get 1 mark out of the 2. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on the net of a cuboid. The keywords in the question are you're told that you're drawing a cuboid, and this diagram here is a cuboid. And you've got to tick the nets that could make the cuboid. So you've got 4 nets down here, and you've got to tick the boxes which will make a cuboid. This will give you 2 marks in the exam. So your key facts are you need to know that a cuboid is a 3D rectangle. So if you think about a cereal box, that is a cuboid. So whatever cereal you have, that is the cuboid, the shape of that box. Now, if you cut open the box and lay it out flat, that is the net. So that is the shape made when the 3D shape is laid out flat. It will look like one of these 4 pictures here. Now, you've got to decide which one of these 4 pictures will make the net and which ones won't. Now, some people will be able to look at these and just know which ones will make the net and which ones won't. Other people struggle to visualise what is going on. And if you're struggling to visualise what's going on, have a go at drawing out this shape on paper or card, cut it out and then fold it, and can you make a cuboid? If it makes a cuboid, you give it a tick. If it doesn't make a cuboid, then you don't do anything. Now the traditional net of a cuboid looks like this. So here's the front of your cereal box, here's the side of your cereal box, and then the back of the cereal box, and then the other side, and then you've got a top and bottom, or whichever way round you want to think about it. So you've got pairs of sides. So this side here is the same as this one here. These 2 here come as a pair, and these 2 here come as a pair. So these could be the sides, top, bottom, front and back, or whichever orientation you want to think about it. But once you've got your net drawn out here, it's important to think about how it would fold together. Now in the exam, you're not going to have time to draw this out, cut it out, and then fold it in the exam to say which ones make the net and which ones don't. So you need to think about the edges. So this edge and this edge here would come together and fold up to make a side. So you can see how they would connect. Similarly on the other side, these 2 here would fold together. At the back, you've got these 2 here, which will also fold together. And these 2 here will fold together. So that will give you the base of the cuboid. You've got the front, you've got the back, you've got the 2 sides, and this bit here will be the lid or the top. And this lid here, okay, will connect with this one over here. You've got the top and the top here, which will connect. So these 2 will come around to make a complete shape, so to make it into the complete cuboid. These 2 on the left hand side will connect, and this one and here on the right hand side will also connect. So you can see that all the sides have been connected together and it will form the cuboid. Now none of these shapes look like the traditional cuboid net. So you've got to work out which ones of these will fold together to make the cuboid. Press pause. Have a go at working out which ones it is, whether that is just looking at it and knowing the answer or making it and seeing which ones work and which ones don't, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic. So if we look at this first shape here, we've got 4 rectangles here, very similar to here. So these will fold round and that will make the main body of it. But you've got your shape here on the end, you've got a rectangle here like I have on this one here, but instead of this one being on the right hand side as on the traditional one, it is next to it. So you've got 2 small squares. Now the 2 small squares in this case are the top and the bottom. And you can see the top and the bottom are not connected to each other. So because the top and bottom aren't connected to each other, they can't be next to each other in this diagram. So this first one is not a net. This next one here, we've got to think about the sides. So which pairs will join together? And you will actually find when we look at the sides, this one will become a net, and I'm going to show you why. So these 2 here will pair up, the 2 here will pair up, these 2 along here will pair, these 2 on the right hand side will pair together. This one and this one, as once these 2 have been connected, then these 2 blue ones will connect. These 2, you can see here on the 4, that's like these 4 here, the top one and the bottom one, but this is just going sideways, so this one will connect round to here, leaving these last 2 here, which will connect to make the cuboid. The next one here, if you look at this side here and look at the connection here, and look at the connection on the right hand side, you can see that this one will fold in on the right and this one from the left will fold in, and you'll see they'll overlap. And because they overlap, this one won't be a net. This last one will be a net, and I'll show you why it will be a net. It's because these two will connect, these two here connect, these two here connect, so they're the easy ones, seeing where the connection is. Now this one, once these two have connected here, this one and this one here will connect, a bit like up here. So these two have connected, so the two blue ones connect. So same, just upside down, the two purple ones connect. Similarly on the other side, once these two yellow ones have connected, these two blue ones connect to each other. The two outside ones here are like this blue one here on the top and the bottom. So on the left hand side and the right hand side, same as this one here across the four. And then this one here will come around and connect with this one here once it's all connected, and that will make the complete cuboid. It is very tricky to spot what is going on with these, so I've tried to colour coordinate the edges to see which ones will stick together, to show you how they will work to make the cuboid. If you're struggling, draw it out, cut it out, and then see how they fit together to make the cuboid. Obviously in the exam you won't get time to do that, but make sure that you can visualize it or have a good idea as to which ones will work and which ones don't work. Give yourself a big tick if you got those correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question says up to 2 marks for 2 boxes correctly ticked and no incorrect boxes ticked. So it should look like this, just the bottom one and the one second down should give you the mark. If it is incorrect, award 1 mark for 2 boxes ticked correctly and 1 incorrect box, or 1 box correctly ticked and no incorrect boxes. So that will give you 1 mark out of the 2 marks. So make sure you've marked off 2. If you have made a mistake, then you can possibly get 1 mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at math. This is a multiplication problem. The key words of the question that you've got to find the missing number, and you need to write that answer in this box here to make the calculation correct. So what answer in here will make this sum correct? And you're told 754 times by 6 plus 754 times by 3 is equal to 754 times by some number, and you've got to work out the answer for 1 mark in the exam. Now your key facts. You need to look at the numbers closely. So look at the question very carefully. And when you've been looking at it very carefully, you've got to look if you can see if there's a shortcut to be able to do this answer without actually working out the full answer. So you can work this out without actually doing 754 times by 6 plus 754 times by 3. So you don't have to work out these two answers individually, add them together and divide it by 754 to get this answer here. If you did that, you would use a calculator and you get the answer and it would be correct. But this is done without a calculator, and without a calculator there is an easier way from working out the answer to these two times together, added together, and then dividing your answer by 754. So press pause, see if you can work out how to do it without using a calculator and without actually working out the answers to these, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work! So hopefully you've worked out that you don't actually need to multiply these numbers by 754. So instead we can think of that we have got 6 lots of 754. So here is 1 lot of 754, 2 lots of 754, 3 lots, 4 lots, 5 lots, and I've got 6 lots of 754. Now I've got 3 lots. So I've got 1 lot of 754, 2 lots of 754, 3 lots of 754. Now the answer wants to know how many lots of 754 have you got? So what is the missing number here? So it's the total number of lots of 754, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus the 3, so 7, 8, 9. So your missing answer in here is 9, and that will give you 1 mark without doing any calculations whatsoever on here other than adding together the numbers 6 plus 3. There is an alternative way to do it. You could have looked at the question and thought, actually, all these numbers are multiplied by 754. 754 is common to every single number. So if I divide this first term by 754, I'm just left with 6. If I divide the next term by 754, I'm left with 3. If I divide the answer by 754, I'm left with this missing box. So the answer is just 6 plus 3, which is 9. So there's a little trick there to spot to make it a little bit easier than working out these full sums. Give yourself a big tick if you managed to get 9. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 9 for 1M, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on fractions, decimals and percentages. You have got 5-digit cards, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And you're told you need to use 2 of the cards, so any 2 of these cards, to make a fraction. You can see your fraction written out here, equivalent to 25%. And then you need to use 2 of the cards to make a fraction equivalent to 0.4. Each section will be worth 1 mark. Now your key facts. You need to know that the digit is an individual number. So all these numbers that you can see here are all digits. You need to know that the word equivalent means exactly the same. So the decimal, the percentage here of 25% can be written as a fraction. What is its equivalent? So the equivalent means the same value. You need to know that percentage is out of 100. So here we've got 25% and the maximum percentage for a whole is 100. A fraction is how many you want divided by your total. So you've got to write 2 fractions. You need to know a decimal is 0 point some number. And you need to know the place values for decimals. So the first number after the decimal point is your tenths. And the second one will be your hundredths, and kept going on further down. Now press pause. Using this information here, see if you can work out what the fractions will be, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to come up with some answers. So we're looking at the first one, which is equivalent to 25%. Now we know percentage is out of 100. So if we start with 25, I add on another 25. So 20 plus 20 is 40. 5 plus 5 is 10, takes me to 50. I'm going to add on another 25. So 50 plus 20 is 70. Plus 5 is 75. Add on another 25. Takes me to 80, 90, plus the 5 is from 95, takes you to 100. So there are 4 25s that fit into 100. If you'd have done 100 divided by 25, that would have given you 4. Now we want to know what is equivalent to 25%. So one of these boxes here is equivalent to 25%. So that as a fraction is equivalent to 1 over 4. Now you could have written 25 over 100 because 25 over 100 is the same as 25%. You would then have to cancel that down because you have to use single digits. So you then need to know that 25 over 100, 25 divided by 25 is 1, 100 divided by 25 is 4, so 1/4 is equivalent to 25%. Most of you should know that 25% is a quarter. It is a fact that you should just know off the top of your head. The next one is a fraction equivalent to 0.4. Now 0.4, the 4 here is in the tenths column. So I've got 0 ones and I've got 4 tenths. So 4 tenths means 4 out of 10. 4 tenths is 4 over 10. Now the digits 10 is 2 digits. There is no 10 up here, so we have to cancel this fraction down to find an equivalent fraction. Both these numbers are even, which means they're both in the 2 times table. So that means we can halve both of the numbers. So half of 4 is 2, half of 10 is 5. So my equivalent fraction is 2 over 5 using these values here. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. The mark scheme shows 1/4 for part A for 1M, which means 1 method mark, and 2/5 also for 1 method mark for part B. It does say on the right hand side, do not accept equivalent fractions. So if you'd have written 25/100 or 4/10, you would not get the mark for this. So you had to write it in its simplest form. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at math. This is a question involving time. The key parts of the question, you're told that there is a concert one evening. Now the evening is really important because you need to be thinking whether you're in the morning, AM, or PM in the afternoon, or even into the evening. You're told that it took her 1 hour and 20 minutes to get to the concert from home. And she arrived at the concert at 7:10. You've got to work out what time did she leave home. You need to write the answer to that in this box here, and that will give you 1 mark in the exam. You're then told the concert started at 7:20 and it finished at 9:05 PM. And you've got to work out how long the concert lasted. And you need to write your answer in terms of hours and minutes in the box here, and again this is worth 1 mark. So your key facts that you need to know. You need to know that the evening means PM. So as it says here, you've got 7:20 PM, 9:05 PM. They've already given you a clue that it's PM in the question. You need to know that 1 hour is 60 minutes. You need to know that the long hand on the clock points to the minutes. And you need to know that the short hand on the clock points to the hours. And your clock, you should be familiar with the face of the clock, with 12 being at the top, 6 at the bottom, which is 1/2 past, and every number coming round here counts round in 5 minutes. So we've got 5 past, 10 past, or 5:02, 10:02, depends on which side of the clock you're at. Press pause, use the clock to help you work out what time she left home, and also how long the concert lasted. Press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work, so hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So we're told to start with that she arrived at 7:10. So if we think about that on the clock, the little hand is pointed to the 7 or just after the 7 because it's at 10 past. And 10 past from the hour, which is the vertical here, 12 o'clock, we've got 5 minutes past, 10 minutes past. So we arrive at 7:10. This is what that looks like on the clock. Now you're told it took her 1 hour and 20 minutes to get there from home. So if she arrived at 7:10, an hour before that is 6:10, and it was an extra 20 minutes, so it's got to be before 6 o'clock in the evening. So if I take this hand here and go back 20 minutes, so 5, 10, 15, 20, the big hand is pointing to the 10, because that's 20 minutes before. We know it's got to be before 6 o'clock because an hour before 7:10 is 6:10, so it's got to be going into the 5 something. So this is the time that she actually left home. So the little hand is not on the 5, but it's going towards the 6, so it's between the 5 and the 6. And the big hand is pointed to the 10, which was 20 minutes before this purple clock time we had here. So if we look at this, the time she left home is going to be 5, okay, and if you count all the way round from the top, we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So it's going to be 5:50 PM because we are in the evening, and that will give you 1 mark in the exam. The next part of the information tells us that the concert started at 7:20. So again, we can think of our clock and we can think of 7:20. So 20 past is 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes past, and the little hand is pointed to the 7. It'll be slightly after 7 because it moves round as the minutes move round the clock. We know the concert finishes at 9:05. So we've got to work out how long the concert lasted. So 9:05, if you think of 9 o'clock, so 9 o'clock is across here, and 5 past is at the top here. So there's 9 o'clock and 05, that's the time the concert finished. So you've got to work out the length of time between 7:20 and 9:05. So if we look at the time here, so we're at 7:20, if we add on an hour, that will take me to 8:20. So the little hand will be pointed to the 8. If you added on another hour, that will take you to 9:20, and we're only at 9:05, so it isn't 2 hours, it's only 1 hour. So it's 1 hour, and then we've got to work out how many minutes it is from the hand being on the 4 to being to the 1. So we've got to count the number of minutes round. So starting at the 4, we're going to count round 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So it's 1 hour and 45 minutes, and this will give you your second mark. Just have a big tick if you got those correct. Great work, well done. Now in the exam you don't need to draw out a clock because there should be a clock in the room, so you can just look at the clock in the exam hall and you can see what the time is, or you can look at a watch on your wrist. If you've got a watch with you on your wrist, that will help you with any time questions. So look at the surroundings around you, use those to help you work out the time. The mark scheme on this question shows the answers 5:50 or 5:50 p.m. or even written in 24-hour clock as 17:50, because if you added 12 plus 5 that gives you 17. The second mark was awarded for 1 hour and 45 minutes. It does say except on the right hand side it written in terms of words, so 10 to 6, or written as 10 to 6 like this. There are different ways of writing it. Or if you've written down here, award 1 mark if it is written as 1.75 of an hour and the last bit of it is blank, or 105 minutes, that will also give you a mark. The 1M means 1 method mark, so make sure you know how to write your answer clearly. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on maths. The key words of the question are you're told that you've got 24 chocolate eggs, and the 24 chocolate eggs in the box have got a mass of 870 grams. And you can see the box here, and inside the box there are 24 eggs that weigh a total of 870 grams. You're told the empty box has a mass of 30 grams. So the outside of the box weighs 30 grams, and you've got to work out the mass of one of the chocolate eggs. It says you must show your method, which means you must write down how you get your answer. So in this space here provided on the squares, you must write down the calculations you're doing. And this answer needs to be written in this box here. Remember, your answer will be in grams, and there'll be 2 marks for doing this. Now when you write your numbers, make sure you write each individual digit in each square, so it helps spread your work out and makes your work nice and clear. The key facts you need to know. You need to work out the mass of the chocolates because you know the total mass of the box and the chocolates is 870 grams, so you need to work out what the mass of the chocolates are inside the box. Once you know the mass of the chocolates, then you need to work out the mass of one of the chocolates, remembering you had 24 eggs. So you need to find the mass of one chocolate, and when you're doing that, to find the mass of one chocolate, you're going to have to share, which means divide. Remember, you can use the bus stop method to divide. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work, well done. So to start with, you should have realised that you had 870 grams and the box weighs 30 grams, so you've got to subtract these 2 numbers to work out how much the chocolate weighs inside. So we've got to do 0 take away 0, which is 0, 7 take away 3, which is 4, and 8 take away 0, which is 8. Now the eggs weigh 840 grams and you're told there are 24 eggs. So we now need to work out how many times 24 fits into 840. Now this is a tricky calculation, so you can use the bus stop method to work this out, but it is quite tricky. Now, because we're divided by 24, that's what makes it really tricky. So it's handy to write down your 24 times table. So we know 24 is the first number. 24 times 2 or double 24. Double 20 is 40. Double 4 is 8. Add on another 24. So 4 plus 8 is 12. 4 plus 2 is 6 plus the 1 gives me 72. Add on another 24. So 7 plus 2 is 90. 4 plus 2 is 6, so that's going to be 96. Add on another 24, so the 6 plus the 4 ones is going to give me a 10. The 90 plus the 20 is going to be 90, 100, 110. Add on the extra 10 is going to be 120. Now we're going to stop at 120 because this ends in a 0 and this number here ends in a 0. So we're expecting to know an exact mass of these chocolates. So we're just going to stop here. We may need to go further on later, but we'll see how we go. So when we do our short division, we're dividing by 24. So 24 goes at the front of the bus stop and 840 goes underneath. Now 24 into 8 doesn't go. So we need to move the 8 over here because there's an 8 left over. So we've now got 24 into 84. Now if we look down here, 1 is 24, 2 is 48, 3 is 72 and 4 is 96. 96 is too big, 72 is too small. So it goes in 3 times. Now we've got to add on to 72 to make to 84. So from 70 to 80 is 10, 2 to 4 is 2. So we've got 12 left over. So we've now got 24 into 120. So you can see here 120 is at the bottom. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So 24 fits into 125 times. So my answer is 35 grams and this will give you 2 marks in the exam. Doing the method of doing the subtraction and then the division, that will give you 1 method mark if you made a mistake or you struggled. And then the second mark was for getting the answer 35. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. It was a really tricky question, so well done if you managed to do it. The mark scheme on this question shows up to 2m, which means up to 2 method marks, for getting the answer of 35. It says if the answer is incorrect, you get 1 mark if you show the correct method, so i.e. doing 870 divided by take away 30 is 840 and then dividing that by 24, or making a mistake with the answer that you have got. So as long as you show you're working out, you can get 1 mark out of the 2. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on adding fractions. In this question, you're told the key words are that you've got a rectangle that is split into 3 parts. So the rectangle it's talking about is this large rectangle here, and the 3 parts are section A, B and C. You're told the diagram is not to scale, which means you can't use your ruler to measure anything. It won't help you. Now you're told that part A is half the area of the rectangle. So if you look at the large rectangle here, A is split down the middle and this is half of the total rectangle here. Part B, you're told, is 1/3 of the total area. So this is the total area of a rectangle and this is equivalent to 1/3. Though it may not look like a third, so don't let the diagram put you off, but you will see that this actually, well, you're told that this is 1/3, but it's not the traditional way of seeing it drawn as a third. Now the question wants you to find the fraction of the area of the rectangle that is shaded. So it wants to know the total area here of A and B. So you've got to add together your 2 fractions and leave your answer as a fraction, and it needs to get written in this box here for 1 mark in the exam. So to help us do this, we need to know the steps to add fractions. So our key facts are that we need to find a common denominator. So you need to look at the denominators, which are the numbers at the bottom, i.e. the 2 and the 3, and what number is in the 2 times table and the 3 times table that is common to both. Then we need to find equivalent fractions. So what can we write a half as the same over this new denominator, and the same for the third. Then we need to add together my numerators, which are the numbers on the top. And then our denominator will stay exactly the same. Now you will need to cancel your answer if you didn't find the lowest common denominator and it was just any denominator. So just check your answer, does it cancel, or if it doesn't cancel, you found the lowest common denominator, so it won't. Press pause, have a go at working out the total area of a rectangle shape that is shaded, and then press play when you've got an answer. Fantastic work, so well done. So to start with, you should realise we're adding together 1/2 and 1/3. Now step 1 says find the common denominator. So we've got to find a number that is in the 2 times table and in the 3 times table. So if we look at these numbers here, start with the biggest one. We're going to go 3, 6, 9, 12. For 2, we're going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now the number that is the same in both of these is the number 6. So 6 is my lowest common denominator, or my lowest common multiple, so my denominator will be 6. That means I'm going to have 6 sections here. So once we've identified that it is 6, and if you've got a different multiple, i.e. 12, you will have to cancel your answer down, but we've just taken the lowest one, which is 6. Now you can get 6 by doing 2 times 3. 2 times 3 does give you 6, but it doesn't always give you the lowest common denominator because if both the numbers are even, it doesn't work. So just be careful when you check these numbers as to see whether you can just multiply them, or you need to think about which is the lowest number in both those times table. So we know there are going to be 6 sections. So we've got to work out the equivalent fraction to a half. So if I look at this diagram here with 6, half of them are the top half. So you can see I have got 1, 2, 3 sections. 3 over 6 is equivalent to 1/2. So that is an equivalent fraction. Now my third, okay, if I'm looking the opposite direction, splitting it up into thirds, so split my diagram into 1, 2, 3, one end of it is the same as 1/3. So here I've got 1/3 coloured in. So for 1/3 out of the 6 squares, there are 1, 2 coloured in. So that is the same as 2 over 6. So 1/3 is equivalent to 2 over 6. Once we've got these two fractions, I need to add together the numerators. So 3 plus 2 is 5. So there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares coloured in. So that's 5. And my denominator stays the same, so it'll be 5 over 6. Because I found the lowest denominator that 2 and 3 both go into, I don't need to cancel my fraction. If I'd have used the number 12, I'd have ended up with 10 over 12, which would have cancelled down to 5 over 6. Remember to write your answer in the box so it's nice and clear. And give yourself a big tick if you got it correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 5 over 6. It does say accept equivalent fractions, for example 10 over 12. The 1M means one method mark, so give yourself a tick if you got it correct. Well done. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on bar charts. The keywords in the question are you're told that you have got a table, and this diagram here, or this section here, is the table. And it tells you, it shows the total rainfall and sunshine. So in this column here, this is the rainfall, and in this column here, this is the sunshine. And it tells you that it's rainfall for Heathrow Airport from 2010, so here's 2010, all the way down to 2015. But the key bit of information is that you've got the table, and you've got rainfall, and you've got sunshine. So from this table, it says use the table, so the information in this table here, to complete the graph. Now it's actually a bar chart, this graph here. And you can see you've got bar at 2010, 2011. There is nothing in 2012. But if you look across here at 2012, you can see there is some information. So that's what you need to complete. You need to work out where the bar goes for 2012, because all the other ones have been done. And that will give you 1 mark in the exam. Now your key bit of information here is that it is for rainfall. So you need to look at the titles here, rainfall and sunshine. Which bit of information do you need for the 2012? So make sure you read the correct information. Your key facts. You need to know that a bar chart has got gaps between the bars. So you can see the bar chart has already been drawn out and there are gaps between the bars. So you need to make sure that you leave a gap between each of the bars when you draw a bar chart. When you come on to do maths at GCSE, you will do something called histograms, and there are no gaps when you have got histograms. The difference between the two is bar chart is discrete data. So this is exact years. So this is for the exact year, or an exact colour or shoe size, so something that is exact, discrete, whereas histograms are continuous data like time. So it's a different scale that you use for histograms compared to bar chart. They're drawn very similarly, but the bar chart has got the gaps and the histogram doesn't. Now you need to make sure you're looking at the title, which is rainfall, and look at your scale. So make sure you're reading this scale so you understand what the gaps are going up in. Press pause, have a go at working out how high the bar will go, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've gone across to 2012 over here. The title here says rainfall, so this is the rainfall column. So I come down here, rainfall 2012, we are looking at the number 700. So we come across to 2012, we're going up 200, 400, 600. Now the next gap is 800, so 700 is in the middle between 600 and 800. So you need to draw a bar at 700 high with a gap either side of it, and that will give you the 1 mark in the exam. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. You can see the mark scheme here gives 1 mark, so 1M means 1 method mark for drawing the correct bar at 2012. It does say on the additional guidance that you ignore the width of the bar, so if you've drawn a smaller bar or a wider bar, then that can be ignored. It doesn't have to be exact. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on mean. The key bits of information in the question are you told that you've got a table, and you can see the table here on the left hand side, and it shows the total of rainfall and sunshine. You've got to use this table, so you can see the information here in the table, to calculate the mean number of hours of sunshine between 2013 and 2015. You must show your method, so that means you must show how you get your answer. You need to write your answer in the box here, and that will give you 2 marks in the exam. So your key facts. You need to know that the word mean means the total of the numbers that you've got to work out the average of, and then you've got to divide by how many numbers there are. Now look at the table really carefully. Look at the years 2013 to 2015. Okay? Look at what you're trying to work it out for the number of sunshine. So look for the sunshine and see if you can work out the mean using this formula here to work out what is the mean in hours. Make sure you show you're working out. Press pause and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've read the question really carefully. So you're working out the mean number of sunshine hours. So the number of hours of sunshine is here, but it's only between 2013 and 2015. So 2013 to 2015 is down here. Number of hours of sunshine is here, so it's these 3 numbers here. So how many numbers we've got are 3. So we're going to be divided by 3. And we've got to work out the total of the numbers. We've got to add together these 3 numbers and divide our answer by 3, and that will give us the answer here for 2 marks. So to start with, we're going to use column notation to add up these numbers. So when we add them up, we've got 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 9 gives me 19. So I carry the 1 here and 9 underneath. Now some people like to carry the 1 underneath. It doesn't matter whether you carry it above or below, as long as you can see clearly what you're adding. Next we have got a 5, a 6 and a 1. Now if I add the 1 and the 5 together makes 6, then I've got 6 plus 6, which is double 6, which is 12. So I've got a 1 and a 2. So the 1, 10, and then the 2 here. Next I'm going to look for the number bonds again. So 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So I carry a 1 and a 6 underneath. Then I've got 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is going to give me 4. So I've got 4,629. So that is the total of all the numbers. But I've got to divide that by how many numbers there are. So this line across here means divide. So it's the total of all the numbers divided by how many numbers there are. So I've got to do 4,629 divided by 3. Now I know this number can be divided by 3 exactly because if I added together all the digits, they would be a multiple of 3. So for example here, the 9 is already a multiple of 3, 6 is a multiple of 3, 4 plus 2 is 6, which is a multiple of 3, so it will divide by 3. Or if you add them together, 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 9 is 19, plus 2 is 20, 21, 21. So if you add together the digits of 21, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 is divisible by 3, or even 21 is divisible by 3. So it definitely divides in exactly. So we're going to use the bus stop method to divide. So I've got the 3 at the front, 4,629. So I say how many times does 3 go into 4? It goes in once and there's 1 left over. 3 into 16 is 5 and there is 1 left over. 3 into 12 is 4 and then it's 3 into 9, which is 3. So your answer is 1,543. You can put a comma between the 1,000 and the hundreds, or it doesn't matter if you miss it out, it's still exactly the same number. So as long as you've written the number 1,553 nice and clearly, give yourself a big tick, you got it correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows up to 2m, which means up to 2 method mark. Now you get 2 marks if you got the answer 1,553. You will get 1 mark for showing the correct method. So that's for adding these numbers together and divided by 3. Or if you add them together and make a mistake and then try and divide by 3. Or if you wrote down the number 4,629, that will give you 1 mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. Here we've got a problem to do with money. So the key bits of information in the question, you're told that Layla buys 500 grams of mushrooms and 1¼ kilograms of carrots. Up here in the box, you're told mushrooms are £3.20 for 1 kilogram and carrots are 60p for 1 kilogram. Now you've got to use this information and make sure you look at your units carefully because this is in pounds, this is in pence, and your final answer down here needs to be in pounds. So you need to think about how you're writing your answer so the answer can finally be written in pounds. You're told that she pays with a £5 note and you've got to work out how much change does she get. Now on the left hand side it says show your method. That means any working out you do, you need to write in this big box here and then write your final answer in the smaller box. This will give you 2 marks in the exam. The key facts. You need to know that 1 kilogram is equivalent to 1,000 grams. So here you've got 1 kilogram in both of these, but here you've got 500 grams. So you've got to work out what you have to do to work out the cost for 500 grams using this fact here that 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. You need to know that a quarter means divide by 4. So to find a quarter of something, you need to divide the number by 4. And you can use the bus stop method to do that, or you can halve the number and halve it again. You also need to know that £1 is 100p. So for every pound, you've got 100 pennies. And your answer is going to be written in pounds. So make sure you convert your answer into pounds. Pause, have a go at working out the answer and then press play when you've worked out how much change you should get. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to work out how much change Layla has. So to start with, we're going to look at the fact that we've got 500 grams. Now we know that 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. So to get from 1,000 to 500, you have to halve it or divide by 2. So that means I've got ½ kilogram. So I've got to halve my £3.20. So we know 500 grams is ½ kilogram. So I've got to do my £3.20 divided by 2. Now 3, you should know that half of 3 is 1.5 or £1.50. You could break that down further and think half of 2 is 1 and half of 1 is 0.5. Add them together to give you 1.5. But most students should be able to tell you that half of 3 is 1.5 and half of 0.2 is 0.1. So we've got 1.5 plus 0.1, which is going to be 1.6 or £1.60 for mushrooms. Once I know the mushrooms are £1.60, I've now got to work out the cost for the carrots. Now I've got 1 kilogram, which is 60p, plus an extra quarter of a kilogram. So I've got to work out a quarter of 60. So to find a quarter of 60, I've got to do 60 divided by 4. Now you can use the bus stop, or remember that to divide by 4 is the same as halving and halving again. So half of 60 is 30, half of 30 is 15. So 60 divided by 4 is 15. Once we know 15 is 1 quarter and 1 kilogram is 60, I need to add together these two numbers to work out 1 1/4. So 60 plus 15 is going to give you 75 pence for the carrots. Now remember, our answer has got to be in pounds. So we've got to convert this 75p in terms of pounds. So if we divide that by 100, take all the digits 2 places to the right. So the 7 moves to the ones and then moves to the tenths column. The 5 moves to the tenths column and then the hundredths column. So I've got 0.75. That is the cost for my carrots. Now we're told she pays with a £5 note. So we need to work out how much she's spent so far on mushrooms and carrots. So I need to add together these two numbers here that I've just worked out. 0 plus 5 is 5. 6 plus 7, now 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13, so carry the 1 and put the 3 underneath, and the decimal point goes in line, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So I've got £2.35 spent on the carrots and the mushrooms. She pays with £5 note. Now £5 is 5 or 5.00. So I can add as many zeros as I like afterwards and it's still the same number. But for money, I want the £5 and then I want the pence. So the pence will go up to 99 pence here. So we've got 00. So £5 is 5.00. I'm going to subtract £2.35. Now I've always start on the right hand side. 0 take away 5 I can't do. So then I need to borrow from here, but there's nothing to borrow from. So I have to go all the way over to the 5 to borrow from the 5, and I make this a 4. So I can put a 10 in here. Now I've got something to borrow from, so I can cross the 10 out and make it a 9. And I've got a 1 in here, so I've now got a 10 take away a 5, which is 5. 9 take away 3 is 6. Decimal point goes in the middle. 4 take away 2 is 2, so the decimal point stays put. So your answer is £2.65, and that will give you your second mark. You'll get 1 mark for showing what you've done. If you make a mistake, you will get the 1 mark. To get the full 2 marks, you need to get the correct answer. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows up to 2M, which means up to 2 method marks. You get 2 marks for getting the answer of £2.65. You get 1 mark for doing the correct method, but making a mistake at some point. If you wrote down the answer £2.35 or 235p, you will get 1 mark for getting that part. If you misread the question, that is not allowed. So you will not get any marks if you wrote down the wrong values in the question. You will get 1 mark for seeing the number 265, 265p, or 2,65 with an appropriate method. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on perimeter. The key bits of information in the question: you're told that the length of the rectangle is 6. So that is the distance from the bottom, from one side to the other. This distance is 6 and it is marked on your diagram. You're told that the width is W. Again, this is marked on your diagram. Now you're told this is not actual size, which means that you can't use your ruler and measure any of the distances. And if you measure from here to here, it won't be 6 centimetres. And if you measure from here, it won't help you because this is an unknown value. So don't let it put you off. because this is just a distance W. It doesn't matter and it doesn't have to have an exact value. You've got to circle all the methods that can be used to work out the perimeter of this rectangle. So there are 4 outcomes here. You've got to choose which ones will give you the perimeter, and that will give you 2 marks in the exam. So your key facts. You need to know that the word perimeter is the distance around the outside of the shape. So start at the top left-hand corner, going around the outside. This is your perimeter. So press pause, see if you can work out the perimeter of the shape. Which ones of these 4 is it? And then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to work out which ones are correct. So you know that this distance along the bottom is 6, which means the distance along the top is also 6. So these are parallel to each other. The key fact of a rectangle is the 2 sides opposite each other are exactly the same, similarly going the opposite way. So if this distance is W, the one on the left-hand side is exactly the same, and this will be W, because it is a rectangle and sides opposite each other are exactly the same. Now we've got to work out the perimeter. So if I start in the top left-hand corner, I go across 6, I'm going to add on a W, I'm going to add on another 6, I'm going to add on a W, and that takes me back to the start. So if you write that down, you've got 6 plus W plus 6 plus W, that gives you the perimeter. Now from here, if you look at your expressions down here, you'll see that that is one of the answers. So you should have circled this one down here in the bottom right. From here, we can add these terms together. So I've got 6 plus 6, which is 12. Now I've got a W plus a W, so we've got to collect like terms. Now if you think of it as an item, if you think of this as a wig, so something you put on your head, if you don't have any hair or you want to change the colour of your hair, you can wear a wig. So we've got one wig plus another wig, or one W plus one W. If there's no number in front of it, it just means there is one lot of it. So I've got a wig plus a wig, I've got 2 wigs. Or a W plus a W is 2W, because I've got one lot of W plus one lot of W is 2 lots of W. So I've got 2 wigs. So your perimeter is 12 plus 2W. If you look on here, we have got one with the number 12. It's written slightly differently to how I've written it. So this is 12 plus, but it's got W times 2. Now W times 2 is the same as 2W. So 2W means 2 lots of W, and 2 lots of means 2 multiplied by W. So 2 times by W is the same as 2W, and then the plus the 12. Now it doesn't matter the order you add things together in. So if you did 5 plus 6, it's the same as doing 6 plus 5. You get exactly the same answer, 11. It doesn't matter the order you do it in because it's commutative. So with this property here, that means W times 2 plus 12 is the same as 12 plus 2W. Now we've circled 2 of them so far. Now if we look at this one over here, we have got 2 lots of W plus 6. Now if I go back to this expression here I had for perimeter, I've got a W plus 6. I've also got another lot of W plus 6. So this is one lot of W plus 6. This is 2 lots of W plus 6. So that's what this is here, 2 times W plus 6. So this is also an expression for the perimeter. The only one that isn't an expression for the perimeter is the one in the top left, which is actually an expression for the area. So the width times the length gives you the area. So W times 6 or 6W would have given you the area. All the other 3 here give you the perimeter. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. You had to get 2 of them correct to get 1 mark. So if you got any 2 of these correct, that would have given you 1 mark in the exam. You needed 3 of them right to get 2 marks. The mark scheme shows up to 2M, which means up to 2 method marks for getting these correct. You get 1 mark for getting 2 of them correct and no incorrect expression circled. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a percentage problem. The key words of the question are you're told that you've got 25 classes in a school and each class has 34 pupils. 62% of all the pupils play a sport after school, and you've got to work out what number of pupils do not play a sport. And this bit here, do not, is key because this is how many do, and you've got to work out how many do not play a sport. It says show your method, so in this box here, that means you need to write down your working to get the answer, and write your final answer in this box here where it says the number of pupils. This is worth 3 marks in the exam. Now this is unusual because normally in the exam the maximum number of marks you get are 2, so you have got to do a lot of working on this question to get the 3 marks. Your key facts. You need to find the total number of students. So to find the total number of students you need to multiply. So here is where your first mark is going to be awarded for doing your multiplication. Then you've got to work out 62%. So in order to find 62%, you need to find 10%. And we find 10% by divided by 10. We then find 60% by multiplying that answer to 10% by 6. Then you've got to find 1% by dividing the answer to 10% by 10. Then you're going to find 2% by doubling that answer or multiplying your answer for 1% by 2. Once you've got your 60% and your 2%, you're going to add together those two answers to give you the 62%. Then, once you've got your 62% of people that play sport, you've got to work out the number of people that do not play sport. So you've still got another calculation to do to work out how many do not play sport. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So to start with, you should have tried to do 25 times by 34. So we start on the right hand side, 4 times 5 is 20. So we carry a little 2 and we put the 0 down here. Then I've got 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 gives me 10. Now I'm multiplying by 3. But I'm not just multiplying by the number 3, I'm multiplying by the number 30. And when we multiply by 10, we need to add a 0 on the end because all the digits move one place to the left. So I put a magic 0 in here, which is why it's in red. Now I could do 3 times 5 is 15. So put the 1 there and the 5, we've got 15. 3 times 2 is 6, plus the 1 gives me 7. So I've got 750. If I add these together, I've got 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 5 is 5. 1 plus 7 is 8. So there are 850 pupils in the school. So we've got to work out 62% of 850. So to start with, we're going to find 10%. So 10% of 850, remember when we divide by 10, all the digits move one place to the right, or in this case here, the 0 could just be taken off the end. So move the 8 from the hundreds column to the tens column, the 5 from the tens column to the ones column gives me 85. Next, I'm going to find 60%. So I'm going to take this answer of 85 and I'm going to multiply it by 6. So 5 times 6 is 30, so I've got a little 3 that carries and a 0. 6 8s are 48, plus 3 gives you 51. So you've got 510 is 60%. Now I'm going to work out 1%. So going back to the answer I've got for 10% was 85. So to find 1%, I'm going to divide this number by 10. So the 8 moves from the tens column to the ones. The 5 moves from the ones column to the tenths column. So it gives me 8.5. Now I've got 1%, I've got to work out 2%. So 2% of 850. If I've got 1%, to get to 2%, I'm going to double it. So I've got to double 8.5 or times 8.5 by 2. So double 8 is 16, double 5 is 1, or double 0.5 is 1. So 16 plus 1 is going to give you 17. Next, I've got to find 62%. So 510 plus the 17 will give me the 62%. So that's the 60% plus the 2%. 10 plus 10 is 20. So you're just going to have 527 students play sport. Now the question says find out the number of pupils that do not play sport. So here we've done 2 lots of working. So this is one method mark. Here's 2 method marks. We're now on to the last bit of method mark where we've got to do that subtraction. we've got 850. We're going to take away 527. So we start on the right hand side, 0 take away 7, we can't do, so we've got to borrow from the 5. So I cross out the 5, make it a 4, and put a 10 here. So I've got a 1 to make a 10. 10 take away 7 is 3, 4 take away 2 is 2, 8 take away 5 is 3, so my answer is 323, and that will give you 3 marks in the exam. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. A lot of work required there to get that answer, so you've done really well. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows up to 3M, which means up to 3 method marks. For getting the correct answer, you have 323, you would get 3 marks. Any 2 marks for doing the long multiplication with an error, working out 62% of that number and then subtracting it will give you 2 marks. Or again, trying to do the sums again with mistakes, or getting to the number 527, or 1 mark for getting an appropriate method with more than 1 error, or a cipher for 850. So give yourself the correct marks for what you got. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a number machine question. The key words in the question, you're told you've got a number machine, and this diagram that you can see underneath is the number machine. So going across tells you the starting value and going to the end. That's what a number machine means. So you've got a starting bit of information and you go across and you get to an answer. And this tells you how many diagonals different shapes have. So for example, the triangle has got 3 vertices. We times it by 0, so 3 times 0 is nothing. Divide it by 2, still gives me nothing. So the answer is 0 for the number of diagonals a triangle has. A quadrilateral has got 4 vertices. A quadrilateral, remember, is any 4-sided shape. We multiply 4 by 1, gives me 4. Divided by 2 gives me 2, and that tells me the number of diagonals of a quadrilateral. A pentagon has got 5 vertices. We're going to times it by 2, divide it by 2. So 5 times 2 is 10, divided by 2 takes me back to 5, and that is the number of diagonals of that shape. You've got to complete the number machine for the octagon, which is written here. You've got to fill in these 4 boxes for 1 mark. So your key facts. You need to look for patterns. So if you look down as you're coming down here, what patterns do you spot to be able to help you work out the number of diagonals? You need to know what the word vertice means. So the vertice is the corner. So on a triangle, it is the corners of the shape. So there are 3 corners on a triangle, 4 corners on a quadrilateral, and there are 5 corners on a pentagon. It is the same as the number of sides of the shape. Now the diagonal is a line that goes from one corner to another corner, okay? And that's what you're trying to work out, the diagonal line going from one corner to another. So if you've got a quadrilateral, you see this square here is a quadrilateral because it's 4-sided. So going from here, crossing here, and then crossing the other way, I have got 2 diagonals on the quadrilateral. You need to know that an octagon has got 8 sides, and to help you remember that an octagon has got 8 sides, if you think about an octopus, that is how many legs the octopus has. That is the same as the number of sides on an octagon. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to fill in the 4 gaps down here. So an octagon, as I said earlier, has got 8 sides. And because it has got 8 sides, it means it has got 8 corners or 8 vertices. So an octagon is 8. Now we've got to look at the pattern here. So this is 0, 1, 2. It is increasing by 1 each time. So 0, 1, 2. It's not going to be 3 though, because if you look here, it goes 3, 4, 5, and then it jumps to 8. So we've got to do a jump the same as what has happened here. But there is a relationship between the number of vertices and this box here with the arrow. So 3 to get to 0, 4 to get to 1, 5 to get to 2. All of these have got something in common, so they are subtract 3. So 3 take away 3 is 0, 4 take away 3 is 1, 5 take away 3 is 2. So we've got to do the same here. 8 take away 3 is going to give me 5. All of these ones here say divide by 2. So in this box here, it's going to say divide by 2. We've now got to work out the answer to that and write it in the square. So 8 times 5 is 40, divided by 2. So 40 divided by 2 is the same as half of 40, which is just 20, and that will give you 1 mark in the exam. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answers are 8 times 5 divided by 2, 20 for 1M, which means 1 method mark. You need to get all boxes correct to be able to get the mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on converting a fraction to a decimal. You've got to write in the missing decimal. It tells you the first one has been done for you. So if we just understand what you've got to do in this table, you're told the value of A is equal to 1, the value of B is equal to 4, and then they've got A over B is equal to 0.25. So what that actually means is they've written 1 over 4, or a quarter, and they want you to write the fraction a quarter as a decimal as 0.25. And that is a decimal and fraction you should be aware of the conversion between those two. The next two are harder. You've got to do those for 2 marks and write your answer in each box for 1 mark for each correct answer. So your key facts. You need to know that A over B is a fraction, and A over, this over bit means divide. So this means A divided by B. So A divided by B. So you're going to convert a fraction, which is what you've got here, to a decimal, and that's what your answer is going to be. Now to do that, you need to use the bus stop method, or you need to convert the denominator of the fraction to be 10 or 100, because it is easy to divide by 10 or 100. So you can then divide your numerator by 10 or your numerator by 100, depending on what denominator you've chosen. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So this is a tricky question. Now the first one can be done by using either of these methods. I'm going to start off by showing you the bus stop method, then I'm going to show you how you could have done it using this method. So we've got the fraction 3 over 20. This means 3 divided by 20. So 20 comes out the front of my bus stop, and 3 is the same as 3.0, and I could have as many zeros as I like afterwards. So 3.00, and if you're unsure, just put a couple down to start with, and you can always keep adding in zeros if you need extra zeros later. So we're going to say 3 into 20 doesn't go. There's 3 left over, so it's always the same number as what you've got here on that first one being left over. So we've got the number 30, so this is the number 30. Now there's a decimal point here after the first digit, so a decimal point needs to come in your answer. So you've now got 20 into the number 30. 20 fits into 30 once, and then from 20 to get to 30 we have got 10 left over, so we've now got 20 into 100. So just count up in 20s if you're not sure how many times 20 goes into 100. So you've got 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. That is 5 times, so that is 5 at the top, so you've got 0.15 is your answer, which needs to go in this box here. Now, as I said, you could do it by using this other method here by putting your fraction over 10 or 100. So this question here, I've got 3 over 20. Now, if I halve both these numbers here, it puts the denominator over 10. Or I could have multiplied both numbers by 5 to put it over 100. Either way will give you the same result. I'm just going to halve both the numbers because it's easier to halve. So I've got 2 20 and a 3, and half of 3 is 1.5, half of 10 is 20. So I've got 1.5 divided by 10. Remember, when I divide 1.5 by 10, the digits move one place to the right. So the 1 moves to the 10th column, the 5 moves to the 100th column, still giving me the same answer, 0.15. It would have worked if I'd have multiplied both these numbers by 5. So 20 times 5 is 100, 3 times 5 is 15. 15 divided by 100 is also 0.15. Now, technically, we don't like to put a decimal above a fraction, but it's just I've written it down as a thinking process rather than something that is very good to write. So it is a thinking process there. I've just written it down so you can see what my thought process was in order to get this answer of 0.15. The next one here is 5 over 8. So 5 over 8, so we're dividing by 8, so 8 goes at the front of a bus stop. Now we've got 5, and that is the same as 5.0, and we can have as many zeros as we like afterwards. 8 goes into 5 0 times. Whatever number is here is what's left over, that gets written up here, so I've got a 5. So I'm now looking at 8 into 50. Now there's a decimal point after this 5, so there needs to be a decimal point in the answer. Now you need to know your 8 times table. Okay, so you need to know that 6 times 8 is 48. So there's a 6 at the top there. 6 8s are 48. To get to 50, you need to add on 2. So 48, 49, 50, that's an extra 2. That's how many is left over. We've now got 8 into 20. 8 times 2 is 16. So 2 is how many times it goes in. And then from 16 to 20 is 4 left over. So I've now got 8 into 40. 8 into 40 goes 5. So your answer is 0.625 for your second mark. So you get 1 mark for the first answer, 1 mark for the second answer, and there's 2 marks in total. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows we're up to 2M, which means up to 2 method marks, 1 for each correct answer. You can see them in the diagram. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to share, like and subscribe. Please follow Get Great at Maths on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and X. What do you want to see next on Get Great at Maths? Please comment below. See you next time.